Okay, back with the calipers. I don't have a micrometer. I probably should get a micrometer. I'm just going to check the thickness of these plates here. Now, you will hear people talk about stack height and things like that. The stack height is really the whole width across there, which if I put this on here for this one is, if I turn it around that way, then you can see it as well, although I can't. You can see I'm not very polished at doing these. There we go. What have we got there? 38.6, 38.7. I have a feeling off the top of my head that that is within tolerance. It should be somewhere around about 38 to 40 millimeters in total for this one. Okay, different bikes, different Ducatis will have different sizes depending on them. Now, this one here, this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 plates in total. And I can see straight away these plates are not in the right order, haven't been put in the proper order. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 friction plates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 steel plates. Okay, steel plates. Steel plates come two sizes, 2 millimeters thick and 1.5 millimeters thick. This one here, you can actually see the difference between them. But this one here is a 2 millimeter thick one. As I say, you should probably get a micrometer. Well, it's pretty accurate on 2 millimeters, I think. Friction plates. Friction plates have got friction pads on them, see? Across there, okay? When these are new, these are 3 millimeters thick. The wear limit for them, according to Ducati, is down to 2.4 millimeters. And when they get to 2.4 millimeters, you really should think about getting another pair, another set. These ones I can see are quite badly worn, in my opinion. I'll stick the calipers on. Let's see what we have on these ones. Now, when you measure them, measure where the friction material is. Don't measure in between the gaps between them. Okay, and that is 3 millimeters. I am surprised. .9 millimeters. Looking at it, I'm surprised at that, to be honest. There's a screwdriver. Because it's barely discernible seeing the... look at this bit here, for example. That, if I show you that bit there, you see that? See? That is just completely flat. I'm definitely going to get a micrometer because this is not the right thing to measure this. This is for slightly larger bits. That says 2.9. Also, I can see we've got quite a bit of wear along there. See how that's curved in there? See that? See? That is quite badly worn. So I'm going to check the rest of these, right, and see what the situation of them is, but they probably will be similar to that one. Okay, we're back. So I checked them all, right? They're still in the same order they came out from. This was the outside because I put it down like that. This was the inside, although I have an issue with the way they're arranged at the moment, but I'll come on to that in a minute. Okay, and I can see a number of things here. Firstly, I don't know if you can see that, if I hold them up there. These plates here, all of the metal plates, bar that one there, are 2 millimeters. Okay, now, they shouldn't be. All right, I mentioned earlier on the metal plates come in two sizes, 2 millimeters thick and 1.5 millimeters thick. This one here is 1.5 millimeters thick. Your typical complete stack should be, someone's put this complete stack in the wrong way around. should be two 2mm thick plates on the innermost part of it, and one 2mm thick plate on the outermost part of it, i.e. the bit that faces outside of the bike, and this is the bit that faces in towards the crankcase. And then you intersperse friction, steel, friction, steel, friction, steel all the way through with 1.5mm plates. Now, what some people do to get that stack height and to stop their clutch from slipping when the plates are worn, rather than replace the friction pads, is, if I come down here, look at me rather, just my chin, is they, not that you might want to look at me, but even so, is they go and swap 1.5mm plates for 2mm plates to get that stack height up. And then when you go and put the friction plates back in, if I go and get new friction plates for these, all of these are slightly worn, although they're 2.9, 2.7, 2.8, 2.9mm across them when I check them all. They're very worn on the edges here. They really are. And for the sake of whatever it is, 40-50 euros or so for the new plates, I'm going to get new friction plates and put them in. What I'm probably going to find when I do that, though, there's too thick plates in here, and it's going to bugger up my overall height. But I'll address that problem when I come to it. Now, this one thin plate here that you can see is thinner than those plates. Right, just put them there, you can see. Okay, I know there's two of them together, but you can actually see it's slightly thinner because it's 0.5mm thinner, right? This plate here is an important plate, right? It's 1.5mm thick, it's one of those ones. It has on it a tiny, tiny dot just there. Can you see that dot? I don't know if you can, but there's just a dot just there on that tooth. The tooth opposite that little notch out there. That dot tells me that this is a concave plate. It is not completely flat. And if I get another steel plate and hold it against that, we'll perhaps see that. This is my concave dished plate. So people call it dish plate, concave or convex plate. Okay. I get another plate, which is flat, and I put it on there. Okay, and I just lay it on the top. All right, and I can see, can you see that? If I pinch one end, this bit at the back here, that bit there comes apart because it's dished that way. Okay, if I turn it over and I pinch the back, the two of them are together. Okay, so, whoops, fuck it. See? Because it's dishes, right? That plate needs to go towards the middle of the stack, not the outermost part of the stack as this one was, okay? With the dished side, that's the side that goes like that, the concave side, and that's the side with the little dot on it as well, facing outwards away from the bike. Okay, it's there to help the performance of the clutch, all right? It helps give a little bit of spring to it as the plates are engaged and disengaged, and just makes your life a little bit easier, okay? Keep an eye out for that one. Now, I'm going to reassemble these because I've mixed them all up here, and I'm going to stick them back in the bike there so I can use the bike until I get some replacement friction plates. Right, okay, so during that little intermission, I was reordering that stack to put it the right way round. Okay? As I said before, someone's had this out, put it back in, but not the wrong way round. I now have inside, outside, I have two metal plates of 2mm thick. Then I have a friction. Then I have another metal plate, which should be 1.5mm thick. But on this particular bike, someone's already put a 2mm plate in there. I have another friction, another metal, another friction, a metal one, but my special concave metal one with my little dot just there facing outwards. Okay, so the stack is built up, two plain metal ones, friction metal, friction metal, friction metal, concave one roughly around about the middle in the second there, and you've got a metal one on the outside. Now if your stack is set up correctly, in fact when it comes out from the factory, it will have two 2mm plates there and a 2mm plate there and the rest of the metal ones in the middle will be 1.5 mil. Okay, but as I say, people take them apart, they mix them all up, and they put them back incorrectly. It doesn't make a great deal of difference if they are back incorrectly 8 times out of 10, but 2 times out of 10 it will, and it will cause your clutch to drag, slip, something like that. Now, one other thing, some people do what's called a quiet clutch mod because they don't want the noisy rattly clutch. The rattly clutch is caused solely from one thing. These metal tangs here, okay, where, as you can see on this one, they fit into those gaps in there. That wears down the side there, and as that gap gets bigger, these can move around a bit more, okay, and rattle. So when there's no drive on it, or if you haven't pulled the clutch lever in, you get that typical Ducati dry clutch rattle. And it will get worse the more it wears. Put new ones of these in a brand new basket, you'll hardly hear it at all. To try and avoid that, okay, some people start messing about and they put the friction plate on the inside here. So it sits right at the very bottom of the basket. It's not really an ideal solution in my opinion, but each their own, it's their bikes. But I'm just letting you know that's what some people refer to as the quiet clutch mod. Anyway, I'm now going to stick all these back in here, okay? So I'll do a couple, you don't need to watch me do them all, and then I'll come back to you. So, 2 metal ones, they just slide over here. Now, remember I pointed out this bit with a notch in it across here. Doesn't really matter, just me, I tend to line up that little notch with that as well. It doesn't make a great deal of difference. It really doesn't. That notch, by the way, is so you can hook something behind to pull them out. Okay, so I'm going to reorder all of those and I'll come back to you. Here's my my thin plate again, my concave plate, little dot on the outside. My pressure plate and push rod goes through there. Okay, there's a little, just push that down into place. That little, okay. Now you remember I told you that this has got a mark on the top of it just here. Okay, which there's also 2 notches on your pressure plate here. Okay, which needs to line up with those 2 notches there. And that just pushes home like that. Okay, next thing is to get your springs. Just push it in by your hand and just tighten it. Ugh. All right, just one thing to note when putting the clutch back on is just there, okay? When you put this pressure plate back on, just make sure that it sits back home against the teeth that you saw earlier on inside the basket. What you can do, and what I've had to do just here is, before I put those 3 things on, is give it a gentle tap just there with a rubber mallet. Very gentle tap just to make sure it is home properly. Otherwise, if it's not home properly, and I will then also clean up all these springs. Okay, so all of those are just slightly home now. Basically, you're just going to tighten them all up. Okay, just hand tight. That's all it needs to be. There's no torque settings or anything like that. Okay, just hand tight. Right, I do them opposite like that. So I go to that one, then I go to those ones, then I go to those ones, just to avoid any uneven pressure being applied to the pressure plate. Okay, so the clutch is now put back together again, apart from the cover going on it. I'm just going to reach across the bike here and pull the lever in. You can see how small that movement is there. Okay, it really is tiny. Okay, we're talking about a millimetre or something like that. It's just enough to take the pressure off the plate so you can change gear. I told you the previous owner liked bling, didn't I? One of the problems, not a problem, but one thing that happened the other day when I was out on this was I was in traffic, and it got warm with stop-start traffic. I noticed the clutch was beginning to drag, and it was just those plates. I showed you just that bare millimetre movement there. In this case, all it was just the adjuster here. Okay, the previous owner had adjusted that, so it was there. That's its furthest back position, easier to reach to. And when it comes in here, it's simply not moving enough pressure by putting enough movement on the piston there. Okay, and pushing that clutch push rod through. So in this case, that was simply fixed by moving that over to there. That lever now has moved out a bit, and there's more movement there, which is all it needs is that extra 0.5 mil, 1 mil of movement down on the clutch plates themselves. And you can barely see them move on the video actually, but they are. And if I put that lever back on its, so it's closest bit, you can see there's not enough movement there. That's why the clutch was dragging on this bike, because there wasn't enough movement at the lever for those plates there, for that pressure plate to come off and allow the plates to move freely, so I could find neutral. Changing gear wasn't a problem, just finding neutral every time I came into traffic. And even then I was trying to hold it in first, and it started to drag more and more and the bike was creeping forward, so that's why I had to do it. Okay, and finally, once it's all back together again, we just put this back on. I'm not going to put my open clutch cover one back on for the time being, because I'm going to strip all this down when those new plates come. Whoops. Don't forget the rubber sealant. Okay, it's fairly obvious which way it goes round. It's got a little lip on the inside there that fits over there. Sometimes these are a bit, I mean, this bike here is 18 years old, 19 years old now. As I say, it's on 81,000 kilometres. This is not the original part. Someone has replaced this with over the years with a new part, because that is like a brand new bit out of the box there. That just goes back on there. Okay, your two short screws go here. And here. Your two long screws go, not there, stupid boy, there. And if you remember that fiddly one in there, but we can just, by pulling that out, just get it in. If you have something like a 748 or a 996, 916, 998, the fairings on those are a damn sight easier to get off than they are on an ST. I know, because you just undo the Zeus fasteners and that's it. So we just nip those up.